Most Ford owners think hitting 200,000 miles is impressive. They're dead wrong. I've personally worked on Fords that sailed past 350,000 miles without breaking a sweat. But here's the brutal truth. Most drivers kill their engines long before they should, not through bad luck, but through ignorance. Today, I'm exposing the exact maintenance secrets that separate the Ford still cruising at 300,000 miles from the ones dying before 150,000. Let's start with the one fluid that decides whether your Ford becomes a legend or a statistic. Engine oil isn't just lubricant. It's your engine's immune system, cooling system, and cleaning crew all rolled into one. But here's what most people get catastrophically wrong. They follow the oil change intervals printed in their owner's manual like they're gospel. Those 10,000-mile intervals? They're designed to get you through the warranty period, not to 350,000 miles. I've cracked open engines that followed factory intervals religiously, and what I found inside looked like chocolate pudding mixed with metal shavings. That's not oil anymore. That's liquid destruction. For a Ford that you want to last decades, change your oil every 5,000 miles with conventional oil, or every 7,500 with full synthetic. No exceptions, no excuses. And here's the kicker. Use the viscosity your engine was designed for, not what some marketing department thinks sounds better. Your 2018 F-150 with the 5.0 Coyote needs 5W30, not the 5W20 some quick lube places might suggest. But oil changes alone won't get you to 350,000 miles. The next habit addresses something that silently murders Ford engines every single day, especially in stop-and-go traffic. Your cooling system isn't just about preventing overheating. It's about maintaining precise temperatures that keep your aluminum heads from warping and your gaskets from failing. Ford coolant has a secret weapon. It's specifically formulated to prevent the galvanic corrosion that destroys mixed metal engines. When you cheap out and use universal coolant, you're essentially injecting acid into your cooling system. I've seen water pumps eaten alive from the inside, radiators that look like Swiss cheese, and cylinder heads pitted so badly they couldn't be saved. Change your coolant every 100,000 miles or 10 years, whichever comes first. But here's the critical part. Flush the entire system. Don't just drain and fill. Old coolant leaves behind deposits that contaminate new fluid within months. A proper flush removes the crud from your heater core, radiator, and engine block passages. Speaking of hidden killers, let's talk about something that destroys more Ford transmissions than towing overweight trailers: neglected transmission fluid. Your Ford's automatic transmission is essentially a hydraulic computer with hundreds of moving parts operating under extreme pressure and heat. That red fluid isn't just for lubrication, it's the hydraulic medium that makes every shift possible. But transmission fluid has an enemy: heat. Every time your transmission gets hot in traffic or while towing, that fluid breaks down a little more. The additives that prevent clutch slip start to cook off. The detergents that keep everything clean lose their effectiveness. Eventually, what used to be smooth red fluid becomes brown sludge that clogs valves and burns clutches. Ford says their transmissions are sealed for life. That's marketing speak for, we don't want to pay for maintenance during the warranty period. Real-world experience tells a different story. Change your transmission fluid every 60,000 miles, and your Ford's transmission will likely outlast the rest of the vehicle. Now here's where most Ford owners make a critical mistake that costs them thousands. They ignore the differential. That metal housing under your truck or SUV contains gears that split power between your wheels. Those gears operate under tremendous pressure with only a thin film of gear oil protecting them. Differential oil doesn't just lubricate. It contains extreme pressure additives that prevent the gear teeth from welding themselves together under load. When that oil gets old and loses its additives, you start hearing that telltale whine on turns. By then, the damage is already done. Change your differential oil every 30,000 miles for the first service, then every 60,000 after that. It's a 30-minute job that costs less than a tank of gas, but prevents a $2,000 differential rebuild. But fluids are just part of the story. Let's talk about something that can strand you in the middle of nowhere: your battery. Most Ford owners wait until their battery dies completely before replacing it. That's like waiting for your heart to stop before going to the doctor. A failing battery doesn't just leave you stranded. It forces your alternator to work overtime trying to charge a battery that can't hold a charge. That extra strain kills alternators, and a failing alternator can fry your entire electrical system, including expensive modules that control everything from your engine to your air conditioning. Test your battery voltage every 6 months. A healthy 12-volt battery should read 12.6 volts or higher when the engine is off. Anything below 12.4 volts means your battery is living on borrowed time. Replace it before it fails, not after. Here's something that will shock you. The serpentine belt that drives your alternator, power steering, and air conditioning is one of the most neglected maintenance items on Ford vehicles. Most people never look at it until it squeals or snaps. But by then, you're looking at a roadside breakdown and potentially thousands in damage. That belt operates in a hostile environment, extreme heat, oil vapors, and constant flexing. Over time, the rubber compounds break down, cracks form, the belt stretches. Eventually, it fails, usually at the worst possible moment. Inspect your serpentine belt every 6,000 miles. Look for cracks, fraying, or glazing on the smooth side. If you see any of these signs, replace the belt immediately. A $30 belt replacement beats a $300 tow bill and the potential damage from losing power steering or charging system power while driving. The next maintenance item separates amateur Ford owners from those who understand what keeps an engine alive past 300,000 miles. The air filter. Your engine needs clean air to run efficiently. Every combustion cycle sucks in thousands of cubic feet of air, and that air carries dust, pollen, dirt, and debris that can destroy your engine from the inside. A clogged air filter doesn't just reduce power and fuel economy. It allows dirt to bypass the filtration system and enter your engine. That dirt acts like grinding compound on your cylinder walls, piston rings, and valves. The damage is invisible, but cumulative. Over 100,000 miles, a neglected air filter can turn a tight engine into an oil-burning disaster. Replace your air filter every 15,000 miles or whenever it looks dirty. It's a 5-minute job that requires no tools on most Fords. Just pop open the airbox, swap the filter, and close it back up. This simple habit alone can add 100,000 miles to your engine's life. But even perfect fluid maintenance won't save your Ford if you ignore the next critical system. We're talking about something that most drivers take for granted until it fails catastrophically, usually when you need your vehicle most. Your braking system is what stands between controlled stops and catastrophic accidents. But most Ford owners treat brake maintenance like an afterthought, waiting until they hear squealing or feel grinding before taking action. That's not maintenance, that's crisis management. Here's what's really happening inside your brake system. Brake fluid absorbs moisture from the air through microscopic pores in rubber hoses and seals. Just 3% water contamination drops your brake fluid's boiling point by over 100 degrees. When that contaminated fluid boils during hard braking, you get vapor bubbles in your lines. Press the pedal, and instead of stopping power, you get mush. But moisture does more than create vapor lock. It turns your brake fluid acidic, eating away at brake lines, calipers, and the expensive ABS pump from the inside out. I've seen brake systems so corroded internally that the only fix was replacing every hydraulic component. That's a $3,000 mistake that a $40 brake fluid flush would have prevented. Flush your brake fluid every 3 years, regardless of mileage. Use only .3 or .4 fluid as specified in your manual, and never mix different types. This single habit can double the life of your entire brake system. Now, let's talk about something that can instantly destroy your Ford's most expensive component, the engine itself. Timing belt failure on interference engines doesn't just leave you stranded. It turns pistons into hammers that demolish valves, bend connecting rods, and crack cylinder heads. The repair bill often exceeds the vehicle's value. Ford uses timing belts on many of their engines, particularly the 2.0 and 2.3 EcoBoost mills. These belts have zero tolerance for procrastination. Miss the replacement interval by even a few thousand miles, and you're gambling with your engine's life. The belt itself might look fine from the outside, but internal deterioration happens long before external signs appear. Replace timing belts every 100,000 miles or 10 years, whichever comes first. Always replace the tensioner and idler pulleys at the same time. Trying to save money by reusing old components is like rebuilding a house on a cracked foundation. When you're already paying for the labor to access the timing belt, the extra cost for new tensioners is insurance you can't afford to skip. But there's something even more insidious than timing belt failure: Carbon buildup in direct injection engines. Ford's EcoBoost engines are marvels of engineering, delivering impressive power and fuel economy. But they have an Achilles heel that can choke performance and destroy engines if ignored. Unlike port injection systems that spray fuel over the intake valves, direct injection systems spray fuel directly into the combustion chamber. That means the intake valves never get washed by gasoline, allowing oil vapors from the PCV system to bake onto the valve surfaces. Over time, these carbon deposits build up like barnacles on a ship's hull. The symptoms start subtly: slight hesitation on acceleration, occasional rough idle, maybe a slight drop in fuel economy. Most drivers ignore these early warning signs until the carbon buildup becomes so severe that the engine runs like it's missing cylinders. By then, the only fix is expensive walnut shell blasting or chemical cleaning that can cost over $800. Prevent carbon buildup with regular Italian tune-ups. Once a month, get your EcoBoost engine hot and run it hard for 10 to 15 minutes. Highway merging ramps are perfect for this. The high exhaust gas temperatures help burn off carbon deposits before they become problematic. It's free maintenance that keeps your valves clean and your engine running like new. Here's a maintenance item that can save your Ford's engine but costs less than lunch: the PCV valve. This tiny component regulates crankcase pressure and routes harmful blow-by gases back into the combustion chamber where they belong. When it fails, your engine starts eating itself from the inside. A stuck PCV valve creates a pressure cooker effect in your crankcase. Oil seals blow out, gaskets leak, and oil gets sucked into the intake system, where it burns and creates carbon deposits. I've seen engines consume a quart of oil every 1,000 miles because a $15 PCV valve went bad and wasn't replaced. The insidious part? PCV valve failure rarely triggers warning lights or obvious symptoms until major damage occurs. That slight oil leak around the valve cover might be your only clue that the PCV system has failed. Check your PCV valve every 30,000 miles by removing it and shaking it. You should hear a distinct rattle from the internal check ball. No rattle means replace it immediately. Speaking of invisible threats, let's discuss something that kills more Ford engines than overheating: fuel contamination. Modern gasoline contains ethanol, which acts like a solvent in your fuel system. Over time, ethanol dissolves fuel lines, corrodes metal components, and attracts moisture that promotes microbial growth. But the real killer is phase separation. When ethanol-blended fuel absorbs too much moisture, the ethanol and water separate from the gasoline and sink to the bottom of your tank. Your fuel pump then feeds this corrosive mixture directly to your engine, where it causes lean conditions, misfires, and internal damage. Prevent fuel contamination by keeping your tank at least half full and using fuel stabilizer if your Ford sits for more than 30 days. Replace your fuel filter every 30,000 miles, even if Ford says it's not serviceable. A clogged filter forces your fuel pump to work harder, shortening its life and potentially starving your engine of fuel under load. Now, here's where most Ford owners make a critical error that can destroy their engine overnight: ignoring cooling system pressure. Your cooling system operates under pressure to raise the boiling point of coolant and improve heat transfer. When that pressure drops due to a bad radiator cap or small leak, your cooling system's effectiveness plummets. A radiator cap that can't hold proper pressure allows coolant to boil at lower temperatures, creating steam pockets that prevent proper circulation. Hot spots develop in your engine, causing localized overheating that can warp cylinder heads or crack engine blocks. The damage happens long before your temperature gauge shows a problem. Test your radiator cap's pressure rating every 2 years using a simple pressure tester. Most auto parts stores will test it for free. If the cap can't hold the specified pressure, replace it immediately. It's a $20 part that protects thousands of dollars worth of engine components. But pressure isn't the only cooling system concern. Air pockets trapped in the system after maintenance can create hot spots that destroy engines. Ford's cooling systems can be particularly difficult to bleed properly, especially on V6 and V8 engines with complex routing. Always follow Ford's specific bleeding procedures after any cooling system work. Most involve running the engine with the radiator cap off while squeezing upper radiator hoses to work out air bubbles. Skip this step, and trapped air can cause catastrophic overheating even with proper coolant levels. The next habit addresses something that can double your Ford's lifespan, but takes less than 5 minutes per month. Checking fluid levels. Most engine failures don't happen suddenly. They start with small leaks that gradually lower fluid levels below safe operating minimums. Check your engine oil, coolant, brake fluid, power steering fluid, and transmission fluid monthly. Don't just glance at the dipsticks. Actually read the levels and note any changes. A quart of oil loss over 3,000 miles might be acceptable. A quart loss in 500 miles signals serious internal problems that need immediate attention. Document fluid consumption patterns in a maintenance log. Gradual increases in consumption often indicate developing problems before they become catastrophic failures. Catching a rear main seal leak early means a $300 repair instead of a $2,000 engine removal job. Here's something that will blow your mind. The single biggest killer of Ford engines isn't catastrophic failure. It's microscopic wear that happens every time you start your car. Those first 30 seconds after startup cause more cumulative damage than thousands of miles of highway driving. Why? Because cold oil has the consistency of molasses, and critical engine components run dry while that thick lubricant struggles to circulate. Smart Ford owners use a block heater in cold weather. But here's the trick most people miss. You don't need to run it all night. A cheap timer that kicks on the heater 2 hours before you start the car provides all the warming you need while using a fraction of the electricity. This simple habit can add 50,000 miles to your engine's life by eliminating cold start wear. But block heaters only solve half the problem. The other half involves how you drive during those crucial first few minutes. Revving a cold engine is like trying to pump peanut butter through a straw. Keep the RPMs below 2,000 until your temperature gauge reaches normal operating range. No exceptions, even if you're late for work. Now let's talk about something that can turn a minor problem into a major disaster: ignoring warning signs. Your Ford is constantly communicating its health through sounds, smells, and vibrations. Learn this language, and you can catch problems while they're still cheap to fix. That slight ticking noise from the engine bay? It's not character. It's your valve train begging for fresh oil or telling you about a dying lifter. The sweet smell coming through the vents? That's coolant burning on a hot exhaust manifold, probably from a small leak that will become a big leak if ignored. The vibration you feel through the steering wheel at highway speeds? Your tires are trying to tell you about an alignment issue before it destroys them completely. Most Ford owners wait until these whispers become screams before taking action. By then, what could have been a $50 fix becomes a $1,500 nightmare. Address problems immediately, and your Ford will reward you with decades of faithful service. Here's a maintenance secret that Ford service advisors rarely mention. Your fuel system needs attention too. Modern gasoline is harsh on fuel system components, especially the fuel pump that lives submerged in your tank. This pump depends on gasoline for cooling and lubrication. Run your tank below a quarter full regularly, and you're cooking that pump with heat and starving it of lubrication. A new fuel pump installation can cost over $800 on many Ford models because the tank often needs to be dropped to access it. Prevent premature pump failure by keeping your tank above quarter full and replacing the fuel filter on schedule. It's cheap insurance against an expensive breakdown. But fuel system health goes deeper than just the pump. Your Ford's fuel injectors operate at pressures exceeding 2,000 psi on direct injection engines. Contaminated fuel can clog these precision components, causing misfires, rough idle, and eventually complete injector failure. One bad injector can cost $400 to replace, but a complete set can run over $1,200. Use top-tier gasoline with detergent additives that keep injectors clean. Brands like Chevron, Shell, and Mobil meet these standards. Cheap gas from discount stations might save you a few cents per gallon, but it can cost you thousands in fuel system repairs down the road. Speaking of fuel, here's something that can destroy your Ford's emission system: ignoring the check engine light. That amber warning isn't a suggestion. It's your powertrain control module screaming that something is wrong with the precisely calibrated system that keeps your engine running clean and efficient. Modern Ford engines rely on dozens of sensors to maintain optimal air-fuel ratios, ignition timing, and emissions control. When one sensor fails or drifts out of specification, it creates a domino effect that can damage catalytic converters, oxygen sensors, and even the engine itself. A catalytic converter replacement can cost over $2,000 on many Ford models. But most converter failures are caused by upstream problems that could have been fixed for a fraction of that cost. When the check engine light comes on, get it diagnosed immediately. Don't reset the codes and hope the problem goes away. It won't. Here's a brutal truth about Ford maintenance that most owners learn too late. Your vehicle's computer systems need attention too. Modern Fords are essentially computers on wheels, with dozens of modules controlling everything from engine management to door locks. These electronic components generate heat, and heat is the enemy of electronics. Keep your Ford's cabin air filter clean to ensure proper airflow over interior electronics. A clogged cabin filter forces the climate control system to work harder, generating excess heat that can shorten the life of expensive control modules. Replace the cabin filter every 15,000 miles or when it looks dirty. But interior electronics aren't the only concern. Underhood modules face even harsher conditions: extreme temperatures, vibration, and moisture. Protect these expensive components by keeping the engine bay clean and ensuring all weather stripping and seals remain intact. Now here's something that will make your Ford handle like new even at 300,000 miles. Proper suspension maintenance. Your shocks and struts don't just control ride quality. They keep your tires in contact with the road, maintain proper wheel alignment, and prevent suspension components from destroying each other. Worn shocks allow tires to bounce and skip across the pavement, creating irregular wear patterns that require premature tire replacement. They also put extra stress on ball joints, tie rod ends, and control arm bushings. Replace shocks and struts in pairs when they show signs of leakage or when your Ford starts feeling floaty or bouncy over road irregularities. But suspension wear goes beyond just shocks. Ball joints, tie rod ends, and control arm bushings are wear items that need periodic replacement. These components use rubber and plastic bushings that deteriorate over time, creating play in the suspension geometry. Excessive play causes tire wear, steering wander, and eventually component failure. Have your Ford suspension inspected annually by a qualified technician who can identify worn components before they fail completely. Replacing an $80 tie rod end is much cheaper than dealing with the alignment issues and tire wear that result from ignoring it until it breaks. Here's where most Ford owners sabotage their vehicle's longevity. They treat maintenance like an expense instead of an investment. Every dollar spent on preventive maintenance saves $5 in avoided repairs. But there's a right way and a wrong way to approach Ford maintenance. The wrong way is waiting until something breaks, then fixing it with the cheapest parts available. This approach guarantees you'll be back under the hood sooner rather than later, dealing with the same problem or new problems caused by substandard parts. The right way is following a comprehensive maintenance schedule using quality parts and fluids. Original equipment manufacturers spend millions developing parts that meet Ford's exact specifications. Aftermarket parts might look identical and cost less, but they're often made with inferior materials or looser tolerances. Use Motorcraft parts when possible, or equivalent quality from reputable manufacturers like Gates, Dayco, or Bosch. The small premium you pay for quality parts is nothing compared to the cost of premature failure and repeated repairs. But quality parts are worthless if you don't install them correctly. Take the time to follow proper procedures, use the right tools, and torque fasteners to specification. A properly maintained Ford using quality parts can easily surpass 350,000 miles without major repairs. The final piece of the longevity puzzle is record keeping. Maintain detailed maintenance records that document every service, repair, and fluid change. This documentation helps you track patterns, schedule upcoming maintenance, and provides valuable information if problems develop. More importantly, maintenance records significantly increase your Ford's resale value. A well-documented maintenance history tells potential buyers that your vehicle has been cared for properly, commanding a premium price when it's time to sell or trade. Now here's the habit that can literally double your Ford's lifespan. The one most mechanics will never tell you about because it cuts into their repair profits. Learning to perform basic maintenance yourself. You don't need to become a master mechanic, but understanding basic maintenance procedures puts you in control of your Ford's destiny. When you know how to check fluid levels, inspect belts, and recognize warning signs, you catch problems before they become catastrophes. That knowledge alone can save you thousands and extend your engine's life by decades. The difference between a Ford that dies at 150,000 miles and one that cruises past 350,000 isn't luck or build quality. It's the owner. The habits I've shared today aren't complicated or expensive. They're simple maintenance practices that separate smart Ford owners from those who learn expensive lessons the hard way. Your Ford was engineered to last. Give it the care it deserves, and it will reward you with hundreds of thousands of reliable miles. Ignore these habits, and you'll join the ranks of drivers wondering why their truck died young. The choice is yours, but now you know exactly what it takes to make your Ford a legend instead of a statistic.